Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to this new edition of the morning briefing. Yesterday, another day, in short, very affectionate, very particular, very directional, challenging days as we have now. Become somewhat accustomed to experiencing in the past month. Let's do a recap, of course, of what happened yesterday. A day that started well with a good recovery. Essentially, let's start with the Nasdaq. So there had been this good recovery throughout the afternoon. Then, well, it had slightly reversed. Then in the evening, in short, a strong closure nonetheless. Made upwards, in short, maintaining this upward momentum. Then, after the closure, some statements from Trump came in that gave a strong push to the stock markets. Like Peran, as Trump in practice made some statements regarding Powell, thus slightly retracting his intentions to fire him, and this certainly calmed the markets a bit. But what gave the strong push was to the, let's say, the statements regarding trade agreements with a good part of the countries, including India, in short, with a large part of the countries, agreements that are on the table, thus negotiations that are resuming. And this obviously gave a big push, in short, to the stock indices, and obviously the flip side of the coin, later. On the Bunda. As for the trade agreements, in my opinion, the most important one remains practically the agreements with the European Union and with China, which are somewhat postponed. More and more further ahead, but in short, this glimmer, this new, let's say, perspective, this new guidance of the Trump presidency, which is now pushing to find these agreements with these countries. Let's say, in quotes, secondary from a trade exchange point of view with the United States. It has certainly given rise to this broad movement that we have experienced last night, in short, with this very strong gap opening. From a macro perspective, today there is the Purchasing Managers Index concerning the United States. It seems to be in about half an hour after the opening. Then there are the crude oil inventories and the sale of new homes in the United States. So even today, in short, data that will certainly be able to provide further indications. But it is clear, in short, that the push on the markets, the real driver of the markets at this moment, are these trade agreements. So we must get used to, in short, these statements that can trigger these abrupt movements in one direction or the other. So maximum attention, as always, maximum caution. Perfect. Having done this, in short, this introduction, let's go into more detail. Let's take a look starting from the Nasdaq. Let's look at it on the 4-hour chart so that we can understand all these discussions made in recent days with that pivot that had held. And for the moment, let's remove a few lines. Okay, perfect. This is the 4-hour chart of the Nasdaq. This opening in Greppa brought prices back to parity. The other now, the level to recover. Absolutely this. So the area of 19,000. Let's just say this is a nice push. We recover area 19,000. In short, with good strength. It doesn't exclude, in short, a push in the area of 19.4, which could definitely be the second obstacle to overcome. To then, in short, have more ambitious targets. So let's monitor this. But this area on the downside, obviously, could also, in short, trigger a gap closure. In short, I don't exclude it with the volatility. Here we are witnessing these days, so let's monitor the 5.20 to 5.30 area, which should certainly hold on the downside, in short, and stop any potential bearish push in a first attack. So this is the situation at the moment. Even though, I repeat, in short, at the moment it seems a little bit reversed the situation therefore with this upward push. So at this moment I would look more towards the upside. So let's monitor this area here as we mentioned. 19,000, 19,050 is in short the first obstacle we encounter on the upside. In short, the road is long, but that is the first significant target I see. Let's move on to S. Of course, we will also look at it on a 4-hour chart. Here it is. Let's remove some lines so we have a clearer view. Okay, in short, a similar situation. Here it is. With this opening in Greppa, we are below this minimum here. So a break of this area here, 5.4, 5.4 and 30. Could easily bring prices back to the area of 5.4 and 90, 5.5, 5.16, which then corresponds to this maximum here and this minimum here. So absolutely, this is the level 5.5 and 16 to be surpassed. Obviously, there's first the area 480 of these two maximums here, but I believe that given the momentum, we probably won't feel much of this area here. But the first real obstacle will be encountered here in the area of 55, 516, 555, 20, probably on the downside. Obviously here too we monitor the closing area of this gap with 53,345 and 53,60. In short, the level we had already identified multiple times and pointed out, which then in short, it aligns with this pivot here that absolutely must hold. Perfect. Let's also take a look at the other two American futures. Here it is. This is the Dow Jones. Let's always look at a 4-hour chart. Here too, we remove some lines in order to have a clearer view. Perfect. The situation, in short, mirrors the others. In short, it has had a good recovery. We are close to the 40,000 area. In short, 39.8, 9398, 50 is the current quote, more or less. So a bearish push. In short, the level to surpass is 40,000 because it's a round number. So in short, there will definitely be some resistance. Then of course, this is the definitive zone, 47 to 41. In short, it's the final area to break through upwards or downwards. Here too, we monitor the gap area that you can see. In short, it then corresponds more or less with the PV. So 39.4, 39.3. This is the area to monitor on the downside regarding the Dow Jones. Let's move on to the Russell. Obviously, these are situations more or less similar, those on the Russian American indices, even if we show them. This is the triangle we had drawn yesterday on the Russell, saying that one could re-enter. And then a potential breakout of the level to the upside could have provided a strong bullish push. In short, the pattern went exactly like this. Re-entered the triangle, we passed it quickly. This push, which is very high, has brought us right to the peak of these highs here. So a breakout of these highs here could easily bring the price into the 1,984,2000 area, which remains the main obstacle to overcome for the Russell. On the downside, of course, we are monitoring the pivot, which then corresponds with the vertex of this. Not with the vertices, but with the apex of this, with the meeting point of these two trend lines that form this triangle. Okay. Having said that, let's obviously also see the European futures of the HAX, which we follow. Let's also remove these. We obviously always use a 4-hour chart. Hours. Here too, of course, there was an opening. In short, in a gap last night, in short, with the price recovering an important area. So at this moment, an upward push is the first obstacle. In short, it's really nice, evident. This area here of 250, 250, 2.3, 320, in short, is the area to break through for the DAX on the downside. Let's monitor this peak of this nice big candle, which then corresponds more or less to these highs here. So this could be the area to defend with a possible closing of this gap. And then a continuation upwards. This could also be a conceivable scenario. However, as we know, we had to be ready for everything. So in this case, we can already possibly have an idea of what we can do. The same thing, obviously upwards when we reach this area. Here I expect a defense of this level by the sellers. A break of this level could certainly lead to a first approach, more or less. In short, let's say halfway through this, let's say, range that was created here at the top, so in the area 20,900, 23,000, we will then see the developments. In short, not everything is conceivable in a day. We move on to look at oil, of course. Here it is. Let's obviously look at it also on a 4-hour chart. We always remove a few lines. Perfect. Here it is. In short, it had consolidated with June to you. Down here. It then found the strength to react, went up, did a nice test right in the area we indicated yesterday morning, then started again. Now it's working up in the 6470 area, so we're a shot, in short, not far from these two lows here, so 6530. And the area to recover with a possible resistance push that could bring prices even to the 68 area for the first approach. Here's where we then go to compare with all this previous area here, which was certainly, in short, going to be a tough area to pass. On the other hand, responded, obviously, gold, in short, is coming back from the highs yesterday. It dropped quite a bit. Here it is. This is a 4-hour chart. It returned, made this nice pattern. It came back right here on the previous highs, tested them, and is slightly breaking them downward. Possibly a break of this, thank you, of this hammer, which then led to the development of this last bullish push, or the break of this level here. So in the area of 3.3, 3.2, 3.2 and 95, the break of this level could definitely lead prices to test this area here, which was of the previous highs again, and a possible break of these levels, which could easily happen, could take us to an area of 3.2 and 3.95 with this beautiful point that was created, which then corresponds to the maximum at the retest. Wait, let's remove some lines, otherwise it's hard to see clearly. So this maximum here, which then corresponds to the retest of this area here, is absolutely feasible as a scenario. It could also obviously find new momentum and go back up. Obviously, this depends on what will happen in the stock markets. In short, it moves a little inversely correlated to the stock indices at the moment. Let's also obviously look at the S&P, PX. This is the triangle we had drawn. In short, we quickly re-entered yesterday. We managed, and then we retested, returned, swore, tested. In short, with this momentum and this, which is probably the opening, it will already be within this triviality that could lead. Then, in short, the prices are also with bullish pushes to test the upper part of this triangle we had drawn. In short, we look at it on the 4-hour chart also this way, so that you can. Here it is. In short, this was the triangle we had drawn. In short, we are here. Let's see what happens next. In short, then, in short, there will be some news. I intend to launch these two new levels as well. This will concern, in short, the 10-year of the United States. The 2-year will also be there. There will be the euro in the future, and 7, and the dollar index. And then there will also be the section for crypto with Bitcoin USD, ETH, USD, Solana USD, and XRP USD. I don't know yet. I think probably from next week or in 10 days. In short, I will launch these two new levels, and probably in short they will also be included to be part of the premium level, which includes all the levels perfectly. Having reached the end of this Oconee morning briefing session, as always, I invite you to follow me on social media, leave a like on the video, and we'll catch up, as always, later in the chat. Thank you all for your attention.